Well, welcome to this morning's session. It's really great to be part of such a big arts festival. Something that I'm really chuffed to be sharing with as well. And as I say, I'm going to record this session, so I've started the recording now. I'm going to show you a few slides to begin with, just to summarise what I'm going to be talking about, the power of singing, of course. And I've also got a short video which I'm going to show you as well. And then after that, there'll be some time maybe for some questions. And I've got a couple of links that you might be interested in the chat, which I'll put in at the end. So for this part, if you could stay on mute, that would be brilliant. If you want to ask a question at the end, then we'll just unmute because I think it makes it a bit more informal that way, if you're happy to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to just share my screen. And so the power of singing is my presentation. Of course, singing is a big part of the arts, and it's a big part of what I do in my job. So I thought, first of all, it would be good just to summarise a little bit about me. Well, first of all, I trained as a primary school teacher, and I've taught in primary schools between 1997 and 2011 with a music specialism. But in 2011, I can't believe it's 10 years ago, I left full-time teaching to become a freelance music educator. And so a big part of my work is conducting choirs. That includes being artistic director of singing community choirs and an adult chamber choir called Be Natural. I do one-off workshops as well in various guises. And I still do some work in schools as well. One of my regular schools, Little Sutton Primary, very pleased to have Nikki, our deputy head, who's joined us today as well. And singing is such an important part of education because it can develop so many different skills. It can develop language, it can help us understand different cultures, it can help with fine motor skills and speech, particularly with young children as they're learning to develop. And throughout school life, it can, of course, help with concentration, and it's even more impactful if it started young as well. And of course, a knock-on effect of this is that it can also improve your memory. And there's that emotional connection too, which of course you get through the music. But most importantly, I think singing actually helps develop musical concepts. Sometimes we think of singing as a separate thing to learning an instrument, and actually it should all really be integral to that because it develops the inner ear so well. And of course it develops teamwork and community as well, particularly if you're in a choir or in some music ensembles. The problem is our education system is a little bit like this picture, where everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Of course, children have so many different strengths and so many different abilities. They're not all the same, but we tend to judge them based on academic achievement. And of course, in our education system, we have this national testing assessment starting as young as 4. We have the SATs tests in year 6, which have tended to narrow the curriculum over the years. And that can sometimes result in children suffering from anxiety. And as we know, I'm sure teachers are leaving the profession. I think the last count, it was around 40% after a couple of years. Of course, we have the school inspection system and league tables, which gets that kind of competitivity going. And as a result of that, there have been cuts in the arts over the years. And of course, music in primary schools in particular is quite patchy. Some schools do brilliant music, has to be said, but in some it's a lot less, and that can be for a variety of reasons. And as a result of a reduction in music in primary schools, since 2010, these are the kind of reductions in take-up of music at the different levels in secondary schools. So when you get to, for example, GCSE and A-level, it's reduced by almost 18% by the time they get to the sixth form, which is a huge drop in just 10 years, and a worrying drop too. And the ISM, which is the Incorporated Society of Musicians, came up with a report in 2019 which basically summarises the fact that music has reduced so much. And this quote is quite a challenge, because it says, whilst the aspiration is for every child aged 5 to 14 to have regular music education, the evidence shows that the reality is somewhat different. A squeeze on funding and a pressure on the curriculum due to accountability measures is the cause of this. And these challenges have become so serious that they now challenge the very existence of music education. And they put this picture out, which I kind of think summarises where we are at the moment with music education in the state of the nation, and those instruments look like they're about to fall into the sea. There have been some improvements recently in that they have introduced a model music curriculum, which has created lots of discussion, but at least music education is being talked about, which is, of course, what we want, and it's very important. Now, about 18 months ago, I was awarded a Churchill Fellowship, and around 150 UK citizens are awarded one of these every year. It allows people to travel abroad for up to 2 months to learn about their profession and learn how other countries might approach their subject. And the Churchill Fellowship is brilliant because their motto is that they empower individuals to learn from the world for the benefit of the UK. And Churchill believed that we should learn from other countries. And I was very, very fortunate in 2019 to travel to Finland and America and Canada to research music education with a focus on singing. So today I'm going to be focusing mainly on my Finnish leg of the trip, which was fascinating. And of course, Churchill himself believed that the arts are essential to any complete national life. And just before I show you my film, just to compare the UK education system with the Finnish one, children don't start formal school until they're 7 in Finland. And preschool is attended by the majority, and in fact, the most popular preschool activity is music. Teachers have a huge amount of autonomy in Finland. They are trusted to get on with the job without having the pressures that I talked about earlier. There is a national curriculum, but it's seen as a starting point, and subjects can be taught within themes. There's lots and lots of flexibility. There's no national testing until age 16 in Finland. They do tests. I did ask them about this, but they tend to use the tests just informally to help inform whether the children have actually picked up what they've learnt, rather than teaching to a test. And there are no government inspections. All the schools self-evaluate their goals, which I thought was interesting. And their approach to music in Finland is completely different as well. Music is highly appreciated. There's lots of funding from the state, and it's a sign of its high regard. And in a normal school, 1 or 2 lessons of music per week is what you would expect for between 7 and 14-year-olds, some of which have extended music classes, so they might even have up to 4 hours of curriculum music a week. And on top of that, there are 100 or so state-subsidised music schools, as well as childhood music play schools that are funded by the state by almost 60%, along with other contributions as well, which means that, in fact, by the time the cost gets passed on to parents, they only pay about 18% of what they would normally have to pay. And as I said earlier, a large percentage of these children attend early music education classes. That's between 0 and 7 years. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my short film. I have actually made 2 films, but I'm going to show you the Finnish one, which is just about 10 minutes. And then it'd be really great to have your questions at the end. If I can ask you to make sure that you are on mute while we're doing this, that would be really helpful. So I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see my film. All right, here we go. Hopefully this will work. In an increasingly busy world, and with more and more academic pressure being placed upon children in schools, creative subjects are often getting squeezed out of the curriculum. In the UK, music is often one of those subjects that gets left to the bottom of the pile. Not just because of a focus on data and test results, but also because of a lack of funding. As a passionate music educator and choral conductor, I wanted to do something about this. And in 2019, I was successfully awarded a Winston Churchill Travel Fellowship, which meant I had the opportunity to travel to Finland and America and Canada to search out the very best in music education and choral work. I was totally inspired by the organisations and schools that I visited and the people that I met. In tandem with my full written report, these films are just a snapshot of my experiences. But hopefully they emphasise the immensely positive impact high-quality music education has on young people today, especially if there's a focus on singing. One thing that soon became clear in Finland was how much flexibility the teachers have, and how much trust. This means that subjects like music thrive, and there's a flexibility to do more of it if you want to. Schools generally provide 1 or 2 hours of music per week, but they can apply to do extended music classes as part of their curriculum, like this one in the west of Helsinki. These children have 4 or 5 hours of curriculum music every week, and their school day is only 4 or 5 hours long. The children learn a wide range of musical skills, including learning an instrument, but there's a big focus on singing. These children are clearly used to singing, and singing in parts too. Sanna Voltinaho is a lecturer in early childhood music at the University of Applied Sciences in Helsinki. I asked her why music was such an important part of Finnish education.
The power of music is so incredible that there is no other art which is doing the same thing. And we can be so flexible with our own ideas. What I was thinking that we might do in this lesson, I was thinking we might do this and this and this, but let's see how organically it goes. But when we are doing things with children, I think that the children, they don't categorize things.
This flexibility means that in Finnish primary schools, subjects aren't necessarily restricted to strict timetables, but they're more woven together in project and theme work, and that includes the use of singing.
We are really a singing culture.
Yeah.
Singing is a very important part of our kind of how we are, and also folk music has been a very important part of Finnish culture for a long time.
Almost all the lessons I saw included elements of singing and folk music, but also different approaches like kodai or dalkros or orf, which incorporate movement as part of their lesson to help accelerate learning.
Kodai and orf has been very powerful in the way we think about music teaching now. And of course, these dalkros ideas are very kind of part of our way to think.
It's clear that the government here really values music education, and this is reflected in its funding. But the government also heavily subsidises a network of music schools set up all around Finland for children to attend after school. Because the primary school day is relatively short, these music schools really allow children to extend their musical knowledge. Paula Jordan, the principal of the Espoo Music Institute in a western suburb of Helsinki, thinks that when children start music earlier, it has a greater effect.
It is so because, as you know from the brain research, the effects are the biggest at the early ages of the brain effects. Yeah. And I think this early childhood music education, it's one of the answers of your questions, because it's very popular in Finland. And during those years when you can start as 0 years and go, and you learn to love music. Our main goal is to to create well-being and to create music lovers.
There are some awesome children's choirs in Finland. So, as well as visiting schools and extended music classes, I was lucky enough to visit two world-famous children's choirs. The Vauxhall Rear Children's Choir from Jyväskylä, and also the Tapiola Children's Choir near Helsinki. Pasi Hoyoki, who conducts the Tapiola Choir, says that it's very important to have high expectations when it comes to music education, but also to have repertoire of high quality too.
If they can do demanding music, so real composers' music, the taste of the musicality and it's the same. I very often say that if you haven't tasted different kind of cheeses, you just like the very plain one. But if you have tasted and tried those, then you would like to have more. If you have opportunities to see and hear and make music, demanding music, when you hear something which is not very good, you realize it immediately.
Yeah.
And it's so important for the adults when they can value the good music.
Sanna Salminen is the conductor of the Vauxhall Rear Children's Choir from Jyväskylä. She is also a lecturer at the Jyväskylä University. So as well as conducting the choir, Sanna also trains teachers to teach music, both specialists and non-specialists. These student teachers, all of whom are non-specialists when it comes to music, will get around 60 hours of music and creative arts training as part of their course. This level of training really illustrates how the Finns value music education. And Sanna believes that singing in particular can really help children learn, even if they're struggling at school.
Yeah, and actually they have used here as well if you have like problems in reading, for example. So it's possible that if you sing the same, you can't read the sentence, but if you sing it, it's possible that you can read.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing because you use different parts of brain when you sing. So you can sort of go around the problem if you use singing.
This is a very different approach to us in the UK, where children are pushed and pushed to achieve targets, and where children that struggle are often given more maths and more reading, sometimes at the expense of their music lesson. If children struggle or have special needs in Finland, music is often used as a tool to help them learn. Sanna explains what happens at Jyväskylä University.
Yeah, and then we have the department. We have the music therapy program here as well at our university. So they have here as well groups for children with special needs, where they do music a lot. Then as well, I think that the one secret with music is that it gives you like the challenges and then the reward at the same time. So in a way, I think it strives you towards a little bit stretching like the concentration skills that you have and other skills. So it makes you learn.
This very creative and flexible approach must affect children's confidence in the long term.
That's right, because if the child is getting the feeling that I'm not good at this, so it affects the motivation. If they are not having motivation, they are not going to learn. So you need to believe that you are good in something and you are able to master something. You need to believe in it. then you can be motivated and then you will learn it.
Singing is clearly a powerful tool, and part of Finnish success in education is the inclusion of high quality and consistent music programmes both in school and out. This, coupled with higher levels of music training for student teachers and an emphasis on trust and flexibility, is something the UK could learn from. So, in summary, I believe that singing should be a central part of all music education. Whether you're learning an instrument or not, it should be part of it, and it should start early. Of course, it should be of high quality too. And I think as well, one thing that would work really well in primary schools is that if it's drip fed through the week, rather than teachers worrying about having to always do a full hour on a Tuesday afternoon, for example. And of course, most importantly, it should be available to all children, not just those that can afford it. So thank you for joining me. I don't know whether anybody has any questions. I've got a couple of links that I'll put in the chat in a minute, which will lead you to my other film if you want to watch that at another time, and also my website. So please do unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like to.
Have you kept in touch with any of the choirs that you visited, Richard, or planning any other collaborations with them?
I have actually, yes. I've actually done a few online sessions. I've been invited to do some conferences, and also one of the choirs that I visited in America, one of the children's choirs that I run, we've actually done a joint Zoom with them while we've been in the pandemic, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just putting in the chat now a link to the page, the Winston Churchill page, which actually, if you want to, you can download my full report as well from my trip, which includes everything that I learned, not just from Finland, but from America and Canada too. And you can see the other film there as well. And if you want to have my website, I'll put that in there as well. It's just richardjeffries.co.uk. Oh, that's not come up as a link for some reason. If I copy it, maybe it'll work that way. But yes, in answer to your question, Shelley, I have kept in touch with lots of people and made lots of contacts, which is brilliant. I've just noticed another question there. Are there any training opportunities in the UK for teachers to develop voices in primary schools? Well, there are. I mean, there's an organisation called the Voices Foundation, which do a lot of work on music training through the voice and with a singing focus. But also the organisation that I'm artistic director of, the Singing Community of Choirs, that's actually a family of choirs initially, which we have sort of five choirs, I think, starting from age 4 right through to adults. But as an organisation, we also do work with schools, and we're going to be doing more of that as we go through the next year when we're back. Signpost to the music. I haven't got a link directly. That's Andrew asking the question there about just about to say. Can you pop your email in the chat, Andrew, and I'll see whether I can find that, and then I can maybe send it you directly. That would be brilliant. Kat's just asked, can I drop links for the 2 places you mentioned? Do you mean the Finnish places, or I'm not quite sure what your question means there. Kat, could you unmute and just ask me? Would that be all right?
Yeah, sorry. In answer to the question that you mentioned earlier, you said singing communities, and then you mentioned Voices Foundation. Could you drop the links to those, please?
Of course, voices.org.uk.
Thank you.
And then, yes, of course, And then Singing Community of Choirs is schoirs.org.uk. Oops, a daisy, I can't spell. If you want to save the chat, of course, you can, and then you'll be able to get some of the questions in there. Somebody mentioned something about the Voices Foundation, actually. Yes, actually, this is a really good point. The Voices Foundation do work one-to-one with teachers, starting at their level. And actually, the idea is to make it sustainable, rather than just go into school, do a block of work with the children, and then leaving, and then you're kind of where you were to start with. The idea is really to get teachers trained. And I think a lot of this is about teacher confidence. I think, particularly at primary, where you have to do everything, and you have to be, able to go from one subject to another and do that really effectively, and teachers do that really effectively. But music is one of those subjects, I think, that if you think that you're not musical, or you feel you're not musical, or you're not that confident, it's a really hard subject to teach. And I think training people to just have a go and drip feed it through the week, so maybe starting the school day with a song or some rhythmic exercises, or little musical activities that you can use as links between different parts of the school day, is a brilliant way of actually including it in schools.
Can I respond there, Richard? This has been really interesting, thank you. I'm Georgia, and I'm currently at Canterbury Christ Church University studying for a degree in arts in education. My last 10 years has been working in primary schools, and I was a music lead in one of them, and singing was at the heart of our school life. And I absolutely agree with you. We used to start the day, every day, singing, and it became the norm in our school. But what I also found was really effective was that actually we used to get together as a staff. I used to gather the staff together, and we'd have a sing song, and I will call it a sing song, in the staff room at times, because it broke the ice, and it's about the confidence that you were just talking about. So many primary school teachers are doing an amazing job, but there seems to be largely this lack of confidence of expression and letting themselves go. And it really worked in the staff room at times, especially at Christmas. Yeah. A great time to get a staff choir singing in unison, very basic, simple.
Yes.
Pop songs, anything.
Absolutely.
It really worked. And also, just quickly, I wanted to say that my daughter, who teaches RE in a school, when it comes to exam times, let's say for GCSE, she will put theories to pop song tracks, and they learn their RE theories by singing pop songs, in effect.
Yeah.
Never failed. The results that she gets from that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point, and I think I would say absolutely, music and singing in particular enhances everything else you do in school. It can bring everything together, not just in a community way, but in a learning way. It makes you feel good. It's good for the brain. And of course, it's a discipline in its own right. We mustn't forget that. Music, sometimes we think of music as just being good because it helps do these other things, but actually it's a subject in its own right, and it should be recognised as such. So yeah, there's lots of really good points. Nikos does training with Lucinda. Yes, the National Youth Choir of Scotland, of course. There's some great resources out there. Also the National Youth Choir of Great Britain, and the Kodai method that was mentioned in the video, where they learn the hand signs for the notes and rhythmic patterns, is a brilliant way of teaching music, because it uses movement and it makes them use their inner ear, which of course is absolutely essential for music and singing. And I can see we've got 1 minute, so it's going to cut off in 1 minute. So if anyone has another question, now's your chance to get in. Okay, well, I've really enjoyed this morning. In the chat, I've put my website and contact details. That way you can contact me through the website. Have a look at the other videos as well. And thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been a brilliant session, and enjoy the day.
You too. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Inspiring. Thank you. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.